Well, good morning, and oh Christ, that's a bit loud, isn't it? Good morning, and welcome to the Creativity Stage. My name is Richard Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of Ingenuity Plus, but it's not about me this morning. It's about a man who, in my opinion, will be the next Liberal Democrat Prime Minister of this country. Come on, you can do better than that. But in all seriousness, the Lib Dems, the Liberals, were last in total power in 1915.
Yeah.
That's right, so we're 110.
Long way ago, yeah.
110 years on from that. And Steff, just to give you perspective, is meant to be at a Transport Select Committee meeting at the moment. He's not. He's come here to Madfest. He'll be leaving us because he has to go to PMQs and ask a question of the Prime Minister, obviously the day after some quite big news from the House of Commons, because obviously people were voting late into the day on the welfare reforms. Steff, to give you perspective, we've known each other for about 50 years, I guess. The reason why you're here today at Madfest is because although Steff is a politician who achieved a 17,500 vote swing to go into North Norfolk in the... Actually, can people hear me? Show of hands?
Yeah.
At the back? Not at the back.
Thanks. Cool.
Okay. You can't hear me at the back? No. Okay.
Can you hear this?
I can hear that.
There you go.
Okay, let's stop. Can you hear this at the back? You can't hear me at the back either. Okay. Can't hear me at the back. But I could hear you.
Yeah, I can hear myself. That's really weird.
Yeah.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Do you look, shall I repeat what you were going to say?
Yeah, go on then.
I can't say the first thing about being the next Liberal Prime Minister. That would be outrageous. But I can say I got elected last year, and it's been quite a whirlwind. And Rich has kindly invited me here to speak. So while a man runs to get him a mic, here we go. Fantastic. Don't worry at all. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, can you hear me at the back now? Ah, great. Fantastic, fantastic. So the reason why I brought Steff in this morning is because he achieved a 17,500 vote swing. We used to laugh sort of 5-6 years ago when Steff was a phenomenal digital marketing and digital transformation consultant about, well, Steff, do you think you might ever get elected? And you were like, well, it's North Norfolk. They've got, what are we on, 14,800 Conservative majority. Don't worry about it. I think it's all safe. And then about a year ago, you phoned me up and said, I think I'm on. I think I'm going to the House of Commons. And I went, really? You went, yeah, no, genuinely, I think I'm going to the House of Commons. And then 17,500 swing later, which is enormous. I mean, absolutely enormous. Steff transforms from our lives and the type of lives that we think about on a daily basis to going into the House of Commons and into politics, representing the Liberal Democrats. And I thought for all of us, it would be phenomenally interesting to have a literal top-class Premier League politician who is radically changing things to come and talk about the digital transformation of politics. We've all been through it as an industry. We've all been through it as human beings. But I'm not so sure it's happened in Westminster yet. And I put it that to you a couple of weeks ago in Westminster, and you said, I think you might be right. And so we're all going to sit back and listen to what might be needed to transform digital transformation in politics, what might be needed for new models of citizen engagement. Think about that when it comes to our day jobs. And also, we might be talking about things like AI and what role that might or might not be playing in politics as we move forwards. And Steff has very graciously agreed to take some questions at the end, so we're going to leave 5 minutes if you'd like to ask some questions of Steff. He's also, you can find him very easily on Google because he's this kind of politician. You can get in touch with him afterwards. So if something's burning and you'd like to send him an email, send him a WhatsApp, you can do all of that afterwards and he will get back to you. And with that, Steff, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you so much. Wow. I'm going to stand here because I can read my envelope, which I've written the things I'm going to say. Can you hear me? Yes, you can. Fantastic. Okay. It's so good to be in an audience where I don't have to say thank you, Mr. Speaker, before I start speaking. So if I slip into the third person, please forgive me. It's an extraordinary backwards, backdated, historic way of working. It's kind of designed to stop politicians directly slagging each other off. They tend to save that for the media scrum afterwards. But it has been the most extraordinary sort of transition from one sector to another, and it's reminded me of two things that are two of the things I wanted to share with you today. The first is that no sector is ever that different from any other. We all love this kind of sector exceptionalism thing where we think that, oh, well, our industry, it's not going to digitally transform, it's not going to change, this is the way things are done. and that's going to carry on being the case. And I would put it to you that that's been disproven pretty much over the last 25 years, except where there are exceptions. And I think the reason that politics has remained so stubbornly unreformed by the world of the web is that really to change, to turn around the oil tanker or to transform completely, you need existential threat. And industries, businesses, leaders, shareholders, they get that, and no matter how resistant the industry is, they eventually realize that it's sink or swim, innovate or die. The problem is, what's the existential threat to politics and to Westminster? I think it's reform, but I'll come back to that shortly. So there I am in Westminster learning how to bob, which is where you have to stand up and sit down in order to catch the eye of the speaker and get their attention. Learning that if I didn't wear a tie, I could bob as much as I liked, but he was never going to call me to say anything. And trying to work out why this building, because there's, for every one of me, there's 650 MPs, there are 10 people working in the Palace of Westminster and its associated buildings. That's before you even get to the civil service. Hugely talented, brainy, underpaid, motivated people. Why is nothing changing? Why is nothing working in the country? And I was trying to process this along with the radical induction program, which is you turn up on day one, and it's very much like going to a new big school. You get given a coat hook, a laptop, a panic button. I don't think they do that in schools at the moment, but all these sorts of scary people tell you things. But in the back of my mind was bumbling away this question, why is everyone so smart and so nice and so motivated, and why is nothing changing? And I found myself on the way to my first sort of family holiday post-election in August, and all of the answer just came out of my brain into my iPad on the train. And it's very simple. It's that the whole sector has not transformed. So all of the different things that happen in departments. Those departments are siloed. They're not just siloed. They're sealed and secured, barnacled to the and totally designed around the organizational function rather than the customer need. I'll unpack that a bit because that may or may not mean anything to you. But my view is that one of the things the web has caused us to do is to rewire our organizations so we can actually organize what we do around the customer journey, around the customer need. Data has enabled that. That's helped us understand what people are thinking and feeling and wanting to do next and where they are in the journey so we can target them with relevant, timely information. And I feel like that's a big opportunity for citizens because if you're a patron of the health service, or you're in education, or you're working your way through the benefit system, to pick a recent topic, then wouldn't it be great if the stuff that happens around you, for you, tailored to your needs, rather than you having to go from pillar to post? If you're lucky with the advocacy and skill to be able to navigate the system, if you're unlucky to not have that, but you have an MP or a councillor who helps you, and that's a ridiculous part of my job now. We've just closed our 6,000th bit of casework trying to help people navigate the system. So it doesn't really work. But back in the 80s, when that structure was designed, managerialism, expertise, seniority, progression, functional segregation, that all made sense because that was how modern management science worked. And yet, we haven't really reformed since the 1980s. We have departments for transport, education, communities. Whereas what we really need, I think, is departments for the citizen experience or for health and well-being or other stuff that matters to people. And the reason that hasn't happened, I think, is because there hasn't yet been a big existential threat bearing down on the whole thing, giving it the inescapable motivation to change. I've written about this and I've spoken a bit about it. I have to be very careful because my majority is not very big, even though the swing was big. So I've got to talk about buses and hospitals and sewage in my constituency. But I'm also talking about this because I talk to people, everyday people in my constituency, and they say, yeah, of course that makes sense. It's really frustrating. We can't get what we need. It's so cumbersome. And all those sort of accusations that there's too many managers in the NHS or whatever. Even Dominic Cummings, who was literally the least qualified person to try and change the organisation, had some, I think, correct views about the fact it's not working, which is where I come on to reform and where I wanted to share with you something that I think the marketing industry could take from politics. Reform are winning, right? If there was an election tomorrow, they would be in government. That might really please you. It might really frighten you. It really interests me because they're right. I mean, they must be right about something. And I think what they're right about is just one thing, and that is what I think, which is that stuff isn't working. I think their answers are wrong. I think their approach is hideous, but I think they're right that stuff isn't working. And they're giving a real voice to people who are feeling that fact, certainly more than I am, probably, if you're all gainfully employed, more than you guys are as well. So it's really interesting that they've got so much cut through in such a short space of time. And the reason they've done it is they understand the market for politics. The market for politics is a market for attention. We're all in the business of trying to get attention, the fifth big empire in human civilization. But I think the market for politics is literally attention, in the way that if you don't have your store in a particular town, people aren't going to buy your stuff. If you don't have your voice and your message and your people in the places people are talking, they're not going to pay attention to you. And while the main parties focus on what they call the air war, the broadcast media, and the ground war, the sort of leaflets and knocking on the doors, I think they're all, including we, missing a trick. It's a trick which anyone who's been involved in organic social knows is absolutely the way that you engage with people. And for me, I want to engage with those reform-leaning people to try and offer an alternative solution to a problem that I realize I agree with them about, and that is that stuff is not working. But to do that, we've got to go to the places where they are. And you might think that politics is crooked and full of dirty money and all that sort of stuff. It's actually a very low-budget game. There is very, very little money, in politics. We don't have like million-pound advertising budgets, and especially during election campaigns. Luckily, we are not America. We don't have billion-dollar political campaign budgets. So the way that we get through to people, other than the Liberal Democrat approach, which is to print things onto newspapers that look like they were made in someone's house, probably because they were, and then blast them through people's letterboxes until they relent. The way that politicians and political movements get attention is by going to the places people are, talking to them about the things that matter to them. And I've been banging on about video for a long time, but I think between the air and the ground is long-form video content, promoted, directed, marketed, and momentum built through short form on all of the usual platforms. But it's amazing how the whole industry has not got its head around this yet. The industry of politics has not worked out that in the market that is people's attention, they have to go even further, particularly deeper into the web, to find the places people want to speak. And I'm interested in your experiences, because before this, I was doing what you're doing, and I was helping big organizations, actually most recently, to do that whole rewiring, transformation, org restructure thing. I hope that that experience that I can bring to politics will help to de-silo some of the way that it works. If you take Starmer's missions, for instance, talking about mission-led government, wanting to focus on 3 or 4 key missions, those all cross-cut the departments of the state. So without reorganization and serious finance, I think they're going to fail. That's just a behavior of the reformed modern organization. It's not the outcome in itself. But likewise, I also hope that the industry that I came from, the stuff that you still do, that I used to do, can help to reunite people around conversation. We have to have a conversation even if we don't agree, realize the common cause, and help us to use a phrase, make progress in what seems like a done deal, a divided nation, no money to do anything. I think there's plenty of money, plenty of talent. It just needs repurposing in a different way. Thank you.
So while I'm asking Steph a couple of warm-up questions for the main event, which is some questions from you, just have a think over the next couple of questions about what might you like to ask a politician who's leaving us to go straight to PMQs to do this, asking the... Were you going to be asking the Prime Minister, or who's in today?
I'm asking Prime Minister,
so asking Sir Keir Starmer. What are you asking him?
I'm asking him why Norfolk County Council closed Benjamin Court Convalescence Facility without proper consultation.
What are you expecting him to say?
I've told him that I'm asking him this, so I'm really hoping he's got a good answer that I can use.
That's brilliant. So, fast forward.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, through next generation, you're Prime Minister.
Right.
What's the one thing...
Extremely, extremely unlikely for a number of reasons.
Let's go with it.
Go ahead.
What would be the first thing that you would do as Prime Minister?
I'd actually go and talk to the civil service. I think they've had a lot of bashing for like years, and they don't seem to have been, like the rest of us, they haven't been given the vision or the plan. So if I was new into an organisation as a chief exec, I would want to talk to its senior managers pretty early on and try and persuade them of the merits of what I wanted to do and why I thought it would work. So that's probably what I do. But I'm going to do that anyway, right? I don't care. I've managed to work out who in the Cabinet Office is in charge of the digital transformation project. And the brilliant thing is, I sat in a room with her, fantastically smart lady, flanked by advisors and civil servants. And I kind of got her into the meeting by asking a weird question without telling her what I wanted the answer to be at another thing in that room. And she was sort of suitably confused to say, come and have a meeting. And they know exactly what they're doing. They said in that room to me all the things that I would have said if I was trying to change the course of the river and restructure the state. But I think the missing bit is there's no political leadership for it. And that's where I think I would use that job.
Brilliant. And then my question number 2 is, for us, who only really ever get to see the House of Commons either in a movie or on the news, you're in there doing this, bobbing, I didn't know that phrase until today, getting up, getting down, wearing a tie. What happens, and so seriously, if you go in without a tie, what happens?
You get past a tie by the doorkeeper.
Is it like a Mickey Mouse tie, like a really obvious one?
I won't even tell you the story about having to wear a tie with a massive cock on it. That I have now told you the story. Yeah, big peacock they gave me at the door of one of these stupid private members clubs about 10 years ago. So I should have learned then.
Yeah.
And if you, they just, if you really don't obey what the speaker says, a man with a sword comes and like threatens you. It is utterly ridiculous.
So, but what for us, when you're asking your first question at PMK, what was the biggest learning, the biggest surprise for you when you get in the chamber and you're about to ask a question? Just take us through that.
No slides, no visual aids, no props, no microphone, just this kind of massive amplified hearing loop, which means you're like sort of talking into a chasm. And that really freaked me out. So I was glad that I'd had a couple of goes of warm-up goes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, question from the floor. Yes, gentlemen, just here with your arm up. If somebody's got a microphone, they can run over to you. Great. No, just one back. And if you could just quickly say what your name is and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Aslan. I work for Ingenuity. And as someone who studied politics at uni and has wanted to go into politics maybe in the future, but is in the advertising industry now, what was kind of your, or I would guess say, what are some suggestions of how you can kind of transition and take the skills with you in the creative marketing industry into politics, and how has that kind of helped you?
That's a really great question. So I think I got elected as a local councillor. That's one route in. Some people go and work for MPs. That's another route in. Some people just sort of wait to accidentally get tricked into it. That's partly how I got involved initially in becoming a local councillor. I think the skills at the moment that I think are most transferable, apart from the stuff that I've said, are knowledge of the modern communications ecosystem and an ability to moderate the threat and or opportunity of AI, because I know it said that on the programme, but I haven't said it yet. It's obviously huge. It's a massive, massive, useful, powerful way of doing some of the data aggregation, the citizen-focused work that we need to do. I'm super excited about the potential to use machine learning to improve the citizen experience, even without them having to actually use digital as the interface. And a lot of my constituents is the oldest constituency demographic in the country online. They're not using even smartphones for stuff. But the role that AI can play in targeting interventions, detecting patterns, diagnosing, prescribing, and stuff like that is really, really powerful. Pitted against the risk, because nobody trusts the UK government of any party with their data. So it's going to have to be really smart, really incremental. And I'm interested in people's views about this. How do you kind of hack your way into people's trust? I reckon bins is a good place to start. I reckon if the government did a bin app, then people bought one of the bin apps and were like established that they were really good at telling you about bins without leaking your data, then they might be another step towards being able to trust them with our health information. So that skill set, I think, is pretty valuable at the moment. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. The mic's gone over here, so we're going to ask a question here, and then we're going to come to the lady in the front who'd had your hand up just before. So, yes, ask away. Who are you and where are you from?
My name is Lee. Run my own advisory company.
Great.
My son is actually one of those smart, young, underpaid comms officers.
Ah, amazing.
Working for a backbench Cornish MP right now. One of his huge frustrations is because of the silos, not just by department, but there's 650 small businesses, essentially. There's absolutely no communications network or mentorship for those smart young people to kind of do the kind of work that you're talking about and move. You know, he's 22, just left uni last year, got hired straight in. They're very frustrated when he talks to other comms officers who are few and far between inside Parliament. Do you think there's a role for Parliament to kind of offer that kind of comms mentorship within Parliament itself for those young people going in?
That's a great question, and one I'd welcome him getting in touch with me about, because yes, it's what I'm going to do anyway. I'm not going to be Prime Minister. Rich is being really, really generous and also a bit facetious.
They're all voting for
but
you.
Maybe if
they're
I
all
am
moving to North Norfolk, every single one of them.
Who knows? But I can do this stuff anyway, and that's one of the things I found. The culture is actually quite permissive. There's a lot of self-restriction. I think I've definitely dealt with clients that were like this. Like, nobody's saying don't do this stuff. So why isn't it happening? And it's because everyone's assuming they're not allowed to. We don't even have a written constitution. Like, you can do whatever you like, basically, as long as the speaker is happy with it and doesn't send in the man with the sword. So that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to help make that happen.
Great, thank you. Question down here at the front. Mic's on its way over.
Thank you so much. So I think my question follows on from
Who
the
are
other
you and where are
two.
you from?
Oh, sorry. My name is Vicky, and I work for a company that's digitalizing products around death.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was talking with my friends the other day, and we were asking, why does a Teach First style program not exist for politics? Sounds like you might be fair with that, so I just wondered whether that's something that's in consideration in the pipeline, just to bring in a whole flush of really experienced, interesting, smart people that come from a different world.
I think that's great. Like, so Westminster has gotten its head around some of the diversity stuff, but it hasn't sort of clocked that one of the reasons it's good to do diversity stuff is diversity of thought. So you're right, you don't get this sort of injection very often of people from outside. You tend to find that a lot of people who work in politics are sort of tripping over their umbilical cords on the way in and never leave. And so, like, whether that's a Teach First or just an exchange program, I've got a really talented colleague at the moment, one of my staff, who I'm determined to get out into industry for a sabbatical, if anybody's interested, and do a bit of a job swap for a bit, because I think that's absolutely essential. Yeah.
Brilliant. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes. We've got 3 people I can see who've got their hands up, so we're going to do quick-fire questions, if that's okay.
That was generous, because I should be giving quick-fire answers.
Will Rowan from the Product Realist. I've done a lot of work in the civil services, contract and transformation. You're right, they're fabulous people.
Yeah.
For most of us, an existential crisis would be there is no money. How come, in COVID, change happened really fast where it had to. How come there is no money isn't triggering the same existential crisis?
Absolutely. The Treasury has this thing called the Green Book, which, to be fair, they are starting to challenge and question, but that says what the rules are for spending money, how you measure ROI, and I just see that as, rather than being wrapped up and unchangeable, that's just like every single other FD in a client organization that I've dealt with that needs to be persuaded of a different way of accounting for spend and a different way of budgeting. And it's the book. It's the book on how you spend money, not the lack of money, that is the reason there's no money for stuff until there is my short answer to that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steph. Question over here. Yes, sir, in the checked shirt.
Yep. Hi. So I'm Phil Wright. I'm a data and analytics consultant who spends far too much time listening to political podcasts. So what's the appetite within the Lib Dems in the first instance to kind of make this shift from the let's mail blast everybody with 10,000 fake newspapers to shift to more of a digital space? We see the Democrats like beating themselves up in the States, kind of trying to suppress the likes of AOC, who are doing a great job of communicating because they don't want to change. Before looking at wider Parliament.
I'm going to hurry you on the question, if I may.
Okay, so what's the appetite within the Lib Dems to do it first?
I'm really pleased to say I think pretty good. It's taken about a year of bedding in. And don't forget that we nearly didn't exist in 2019. So we were so near to extinction that it's taken quite a lot of energy to get back to any position at all. But I can't help but shake the fact that one of the most brilliant speakers I ever heard, chief exec of a big food chain, stood up on stage and said, we've had 50 quarters of continuous growth, 50 quarters, we have to work out what we're going to do differently. And I think that idea is starting to get through, because I think in many places it's going to be us or reform. Same concerns, different answers, perhaps.
Great. And then the final question just here. Yes, you're hiding behind the pillar, though, for Steph.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Amy. I've spent a lot of my career working in communications for
who are you and where are you from?
authority.
She's just said Amy.
Oh,
Amy,
oh,
you said, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'd make a useless speaker.
Taking over the chair, sorry. Get the sword out.
From experience, there's lots of pitfalls around community engagement, lack of trust, people actually believing that they're going to be listened to, people just not bothering engaging or not knowing. What is your vision, or what do you want to change about community engagement, and how do you see digital transformation supporting it?
I think that's fantastic. So, very, very briefly, I want to take what my party has been really good at, which is talking to people in their village halls, on their doorsteps, and scale it up. So it's the same type of candid, honest, participatory conversation, but not just in geographic communities. We're really good at that stuff. I think it's one of the things Lib Dems are really good at, and it's one of the reasons we survived. But we're not good at translating that into the digital space, digital communities, and that's my vision on that particular question.
Brilliant. Well, we're at time. However, the good news is, because Steph's always brilliant at being very generous with his time, at 10:50 in the jungle, the jungle is the Ingenuity Group space, which you can go through this door here, or you can go sort of out the door here and left around. Steph is going to be doing a private Q&A. When I say private, of course you can come in, that's the whole point. But it's going to be much more intimate. There's about 30, 40 spaces. There's a question that you want to ask Steph. From 10:50 to 11:15, we're going to be doing a Vox Pomp, so it's being recorded as well for posterity. And we'd love to see you there, so please come along to that. Steph's also just going to be hanging around here to answer a couple of questions live. Yes, can they take selfies with you?
Oh, God, Rich, this is so embarrassing. Yeah.
Anyone who's from the Daily Mail, that would be brilliant as well. But I'd like to offer Steph a very, very warm thank you from all of us for coming back to his alma mater and telling us all about politics.
Thanks for having me.